Hello, 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 everyone. Share your name and where you're from. Excited about our conversation today. I'm Jeanette Braverman. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the proud founder and CEO of Leaders Leaving Legacies, and Leaders Lead Up is our social community and learning platform. I have three great leaders with me today. They're all DEI leaders, community leaders in their own right. They'll be sharing a little bit more about themselves in a few minutes. But for now, please share your name and where you're from as we allow others to enter the room. Hello, Joy from Houston. And hello, Lori. I see Lori Batani. I see Zainab. I know Dina is trying to join us. She's having some technical difficulties. I know Karen's on, so I see her camera's out right now, but I know Karen is on as well. We have Erica Hughey. I see Zainab is here to support Dina. Thank you for joining us today, Zainab. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat. I'm going to check our other Zainab from Maryland. Awesome, awesome. How's the weather in Maryland? It's pretty, I think here it's a little cooler than it has been. I wonder if the weather is similar in Maryland. Yes, I'm looking forward to a great discussion as well. Hey, Jen Hopner from Herzing. Thank you for joining us today, Jen. Awesome. Hey, Nolita. Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Nolita. See, Karen and Dina. Dina's still having trouble, I think. I'm not sure if her camera is working yet, but Karen, if you can turn your video on, that would be great. She seems to have lost her video, having a few technical difficulties. But what I'm going to do is, oh, it's warm in Maryland, Zainab. Oh, wow. Yeah, today I think we're in the 60s today, believe it or not, out here in Wisconsin. It has been warm, and so it's been cooling off. But I heard that it's gonna be a little bit cooler this week. What about you, Erica? How is it out there? And you're in New Mexico, right?
Well, we are still in our 100-degree streak. So when you said 60, is that the high?
Yeah. Today, I think so. Like today, I don't know. I think it's going to probably be in the 70s today. I have to go check. I haven't checked, but I thought this morning when I woke up, it said 60 something, like 65 or something like that. So
I can't even fathom what that feels like.
I know.
I live in the desert, and I'm here in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and it's been 100 degrees.
Oh
So
my God.
as it is every summer. So it's the beauty of the desert.
I know.
But
I
but
love Las
I do get to
Cruces.
see really cool things like road runners and just some really interesting animals that live in the desert. So
Yeah. No, I know. So being from El Paso, Texas, I remember the
right.
scorpions. Oh my God, the
Mhm.
spiders and snakes, rattlesnakes as well. Oh, it
There,
was.
there was a bush on fire the other week. So there was a burning bush. So it was so hot. So
Oh my
absolutely.
goodness. Wow. So, oh, 102 strong in Houston. Woo! It's pretty hot. Wow. I know I
Mhm.
have half my family's in Houston. So there's
Mhm.
Karen. Her camera's working and on. Your mute is on right now, Karen. While she unmutes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and open up by sharing just some I think statements that I think will really help ground our discussion today. But before I go into just the opening statements, I like each of the panelists we'll just go around the room and have them introduce themselves. I've already introduced myself, Jeanette Braverman, the founder and CEO of Leaders Leaving Legacies, and Leaders Lead Up. And I'm so excited to launch a platform where I can bring women from all walks of life together, leaders that maybe you've heard of and maybe some you haven't heard of, or heard from. And so I'm so excited and proud to have a platform like this where you can hear from them, learn from them, glean from their knowledge and experiences. And so that's what Leaders Lead Up is all about. again, as we are, having our discussion, feel free to share your questions in the chat. Also, feel free to please go to leadersleadup.com, learn more about the organization, learn more about me, my team, and the work we're doing. We'd love for you to join us and become a member. So what I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to open the floor, and I will start with Erica Hughey. She's the Chief Development Officer for Burrell College.
Good morning. Thank you for the invitation to participate in this discussion panel this morning. I appreciate the opportunity. It's always a pleasure to be amongst other giants and other movers and shakers in the community. My name is Erica Hughey. I'm the Chief Diversity Officer at Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine. So we are located on the campus of New Mexico State University in Las Cruces. A little bit about me. I've been in this industry for over 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I always tell people DEI is not new. The term may be new to some people, but sociology has been around. That's been my career. So over the past 20 years, I've held several positions in social equity advocacy and strategic diversity leadership. I started my career after I graduated from Virginia State University. And entered as a social worker. So I worked with foster children, adoptive children, advocated for all types of marginalized populations, homeless, underemployed, domestic violence survivors, sexual assault survivors. Worked in Japan for 4 years with the government, between the U.S. government and the Japanese government there. And now I'm here at Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine. I've been here for 1 year as Chief Diversity Officer. So I'm looking forward to a great discussion. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erica. And Erica's also my soror. So we're both part of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated sorority Incorporated. Okay, and so Karen Nelson next.
Good morning. My name again is Karen Nelson. I use the pronouns she, her, hers. I'm the Vice President of Inclusion and Community Impact here at Herzing University, and formerly the inaugural EDI, where they put equity first, for Director for Rogers Behavioral Health in Oconomowoc. I also led the D&I efforts for the mayor of the city of Appleton in Appleton, Wisconsin, and started my DEI journey when I just had one word in my name and my title, diversity, as the first African-American woman corporate diversity manager for GE Medical Systems, now healthcare, out in Waukesha. I am a cisgendered Christian woman who self-identifies with the BIPOC community. That's Black, Indigenous, Cherokee to be exact. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, and part Irish American person of color. So POC is not enough for me. I had to add all the rest of that. So that's what I actually prefer the term BIPOC. Herzing University is headquartered in Milwaukee and is honored to be a nationally recognized not-for-profit provider of online academic programs by U.S. News and World Report for 11 years running, and with 11 ground locations in addition to our online. We have 3 ground campuses, yes, in the state of Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, well, we say Milwaukee, we use the term loosely. It's actually Brookfield, Madison, and Kenosha. And we're in 9 other campuses across the United States, from Minnesota to Florida. Our mission is to provide nursing, behavioral health, and other health care, as well as other programs, with education being our goal to improve our reach in diverse communities and helping to improve the quality of life of diverse communities. As a member of the executive leadership team, I am so pleased to serve as a change agent and strategic partner with the president. I report directly to President Renee Herzing and Herzing's leaders, directing the development and implementation of inclusion strategies system-wide. My passion for my work comes from my work history that has led me to do the DEI work that I do, starting out as a bench chemist. Yes, I have a chemistry degree. So I am a thought provoking servant leader who loves serving to be the voice for the voiceless. Thank you for having me here
Awesome.
today.
Well, thank you so much, Karen and Erica. Dina is having technical issues, all of you. So when she can join us, we will welcome her to the platform. But for now, what I want to do is just share some opening statements about our topic of discussion today. We will talk about SCOTUS's decision and the impact on organization and institutions. But these women will also share a little bit about their journeys and not only how that decision has impacted them and where they are today, but truly how they arrived at the positions and roles they're in today. And so I will start by reading this for you. For centuries across the globe, race has been a driver for several groundbreaking decisions. However, it has also been a leading factor in many of our everyday decisions. Historically, we have been asked to check the box on job applications, school applications, medical forms, and various other documentation. And now and our race has also categorically been divided. It has divided us as a nation. So in the terms of way we think, terms of way we act, terms of way we behave, race has been a divider of our nation, not even just our nation, guys, the world. The lack of understanding of what some might think are complicated cultures or diverse people has led to many decisions based on personal perceptions versus truth. So it's because of these dangerous perceptions that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed, that we require equal protection under the law, the 14th Amendment. It was the reason, we required affirmative action in all of our colleges, institutions, corporations, right? And now SCOTUS has upended the established equal protection law with its decision. And SFFA versus Harvard and SFFA versus University of North Carolina, the oldest institutions in our country, they've effectively eliminated the use of affirmative action in college admission. This is huge. I actually went through and read the syllabus, which was an overview. It's like over 100 and some odd pages. I read some of it. I didn't finish all of it. But I will tell you, I really wanted to get down to the root cause of this and really understand why, right? And so let me tell you a little bit about SFFA, the Students for Fair Action for Fair Admission. So Students for Fair Admissions, that's SFFA. It's a nonprofit organization whose stated purpose is to defend human and civil rights secured by law, including the right of individuals to equal protection under the law. So SFFA filed separate lawsuits against Harvard and UNC, arguing that their race-based admissions programs violate, respectively, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. This organization has over 20,000 members, which includes students and parents. How many of you knew that? I'm not sure all of you guys knew that. It's a large organization, right? And they've been fighting this battle for many years. This is not new. They've lost a couple times, and then this time, then they took it to the Supreme Court and ended up winning. So, as you've both heard and seen across the media, some believe in their argument. Some support the SFFA's argument, right? They think it's valid, while others believe that the court's decision disregards prior precedent, as well as the societal realities of race discrimination and equality. And they fear that this is only the beginning of the upending of our equal protection laws. I'm in that group. And I think many of us are in that group. We have that fear. We don't know what's coming next. So we're bracing ourselves.
Yeah.
And so today, we're going to zero in on how it's impacting our institutions. We have two women that are amazing DEI leaders at their institutions. Dina was representing our corporations, but I can also help from that perspective as well. But we're going to zero in on that and have a conversation. So I am going to start off by allowing. I'll start with Karen. I'll start with Karen. Um, and I'm going to ask this question, and then we can start diving into some further, deeper questions. How are you handling the changing landscape of DEI given the recent Supreme Court decision? You personally, how are you handling it in your role? And I know you've been in your role for like almost a year, I believe. So let's
Just
answer that
over.
first, and then Erica, you can answer that question as well.
Well, thank you so much, Jeanette, for inviting me to weigh in. This is near and dear to my heart because I live daily in the intersectionality of gender and race in America. Here, in terms of in my role, there's been much discussion, as you are well aware, and you did an excellent setup for this segment of our discussion, that there's been much discussion in higher ed circles about that June the 29th, 2023 Supreme Court decision regarding affirmative action, specifically concerning those two cases that you cited previously at Harvard and the University of North Carolina. The Supreme Court ruled against the universities and their use of affirmative action in admissions, specifically concluding, as you've already aptly said, that universities may not use race in itself as a plus factor in admissions, nullifying some 40 plus years of precedent. Now, fortunately, here at Herzing University, we have a different approach, which is basically unaffected to us personally here at Herzing University by this recent ruling. In fact, this ruling may actually affect selective and highly selective universities such as your Harvards and Yales and University of North Carolinas of the world in a different way, because we here at this particular university use a more access-oriented approach in our admissions strategy. And so as a result of that, quite frankly, we have been deemed most recently an MSI, that's Minority Serving Institution, on the indices of many lists. And that is not by accident. That is because of our intentionality of inviting diversity and the non-traditional student into our institution.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. I love that. So it sounds like you guys have a good plan in place because you were already basically your initiatives, your strategy, your pillars support access. And so that's huge.
Exactly. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, bringing about the meaningful work. I'm not at all trying to paint a picture of panacea. We still have much work yet to be done. But in terms of providing access to our students, that's what we do already. And that's what we're going to continue to do in a meaningful way.
And perhaps, I mean, at some point, and you can think about this, how can you help other institutions get to where you are? Because that right there is very much needed, not only institutions, but corporations, right? And so, Erica, I yield the floor to you as well.
Yes, well, here at Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine, yes, we did open up, have conversations throughout our institution about the ruling. People had lots of questions, of course. So between myself, the other leaders, and our amazing admissions teams. So we have assessed and addressed that and how it impacts us here on our campus. And I'm happy that it's a minimal impact because our mission, literally in our mission, it says to diversify the physician workforce. And so we, upon our inception 10 years ago, so this college was started with that mission to diversify the physician workforce. So we continue on our mission, we continue on our vision. Our mission teams has already had a full service approach, a full prong approach to recruitment.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so we've never only just used race to recruit.
Mhm.
So this decision impacts how colleges and universities use race for the admissions, right? And so here at Burrell, we are a full circle. So our admissions and recruitment team, we assess for not only race, but like I said, that's not a leading factor. Leading factors include local area, right here. So we are interested in our scholars that are right here because we want to provide medical services for the underserved community members right here, get them access to medical care. So we want to train physicians and have them come work right here in the local community. So we look at the full categories when we are looking at our student admissions process because we want students to bring their best selves. So sure, they do have the opportunity to share, if they care to, share about their socioeconomic status, share about their disability status, their gender, ethnicity, religion, marital status, veteran status. So sure, they can share that as part of their application if they choose to.
Mhm.
And so, but one thing that drew me to consider this opportunity as Chief Diversity Officer here at Burrell was their mission. So this ruling does not impact our mission or how we do business here, recruiting and admitting our students to fulfill our mission of diversifying the physician workforce.
I love that. So you guys, honestly, you're blessed. You're both
Yes.
blessed to work for institutions that are continuing to support your DEI efforts, right? And everybody can't say that. Everybody doesn't have that testimony. But both of you mentioned that I want to zero in on, which did come up as part of the case. They called out the admissions process. So me being also a former employee of an institution, of an educational institution, I worked in enrollment services. So I worked in the Department of Admission. So I'm very close to the admissions process and how it works. Something that they called out that was very interesting from Harvard's perspective is that after they have gone through the process, the initial process of identifying the students, like the initial list, they have something called a LOP list, which is like the next stage of the process. And within that process, they check more boxes. And those boxes include things like legacy status, recruited athlete status, financial aid eligibility, and race. So that's like the next stage, right? Race is thought of initially, like throughout the initial part of the process, but what they were saying is that for most of their African American and Hispanic students, 45% of the determinants were made based on race. And so, meaning that affirmative action did play a pretty huge role in their selection process because now, well, of course, most of their top students are affluent white males and or females that are legacy status or could come from alumni, have an alumni status or whatever background, where their families were also students of Harvard, and so and or their names are on buildings. So that is their tradition. Their traditional processes. Those people, they get in first, right? Those students, they get in first, right? And I, after reading all of that, I'm going to tell both of you. I said to myself, it just really doesn't matter when you're going through that admissions. Well, I don't want to say if it doesn't matter, but here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that ultimately the decision is very subjective. So you can check every box you want on that application, but at the end of the day, the review team, the committees, I think they had like over 40 plus people on their review committee. At the end of the day, they're looking at those applications, but their decisions are subjective. The decisions are personal. So based on my opening statements where I said people make decisions based on their own perceptions of a person, a culture, right? And so the way they think about that culture, the way they think about those people, they make those decisions based on those things. And so you can check the box all you want. Ultimately, we're bound by their final decision, right? So what brings fear to me and so many others is that now that affirmative action has been lifted and upended, okay, now is that going to drive their decision making in another direction, meaning the direction that it would have been without affirmative action in place, right? So that is, the fear that I have. And every admissions process from what I'm reading stemmed from, Harvard as basically the benchmark. Now other institutions such as your own may not follow all those rigorous processes because they're pretty rigorous, but if their rigorous process can be upended, woo, of course they can just keep going down the list and upending this for all, like, well, they've done it for all colleges and universities, but I'm just saying, right, they can start looking at corporations, they can start looking at, right, other industries, right, and their recruitment practices, their hiring practices. And so we don't know where this is going to end. So the next question, I want to dive into some other things and ask you guys a couple of other questions here. I want to understand whether you've seen a shift with your DEI colleagues in the office, a shift with maybe your diverse students about how they feel about that decision. Are they acting differently? Is the environment different? I just want to hear from you guys about that. Like, has anything changed in your environment?
I think overall, personally speaking, I have not seen any change internally. But remember, we live in the big world too, in the real world outside of Herzing University. And I still am very, very concerned about what the future may hold. I am heartened by the fact that the NAACP, along with other social justice groups, have sued regarding that very legacy point that you just made, because even after these 40 plus years of this affirmative action being in full effect at institutions of higher learning, it really, if the truth be told, has barely moved the needle. I think the last review that I saw was that Harvard still barely got up to not even 10% of students of color in their admissions pool. And so to now disband it after decades, and that's all of the progress that's been made against the fact that legacies hold far more, a much greater percentage, in some cases, in some classes, up to almost 80%.
Yeah.
Then how is it that even in some cases, not even making it to 8% was too much of a threat, that therefore it needed to be turned back? So that's what concerns me personally and hurts my heart, that even though there may be a one-off, the plaintiff in that particular case may have felt some discrimination level, and that's, and got the, and this, not, I should say got the, but these, but the Supreme Court sided with their opinion from a legal standpoint. It's far from the norm, it's far from the majority. And,
Right.
and in most cases, like I said, it barely moved the needle even after 40 years. So that's the part that sickens me and really makes me upset, that that such a major precedent was overturned on the basis of a one-off situation.
Yeah, and sometimes I think, Karen, like you say, maybe you don't see it internal to your institution. I think that sometimes also people don't really understand the impact and what has really happened, right? Some people haven't taken the time to really research it and understand what's really going on. And they don't feel the impact until later, until it keeps happening again. And there's just like this snowball effect, right? So what about you, Erica?
Yeah, so the impact that I've seen has been minimal on our campus as well. Here at BCom, like you said, we're lucky. My office, we push out a culture of excellence. That's my office's motto. And so we live and breathe and walk and talk equity and inclusion every day. Like I said, it's literally in our mission. So everyone who works here or who study here agrees to that mission. But outside of our campus, I have been called on more to speak about this issue. And thank you for inviting me here today. Our other local campuses invite me out to speak about it as a subject matter expertise to shed light on it because everyone's nervous. I was reading the Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's dissent, and she was saying that the only way out of this is to do what the evidence and the experts tell us what is required to level the playing field. And march together. And also some educational lawyers have shared that DEI leaders who aren't fortunate to work in organizations such as Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine or where Karen works at, consider doing things like maybe renaming your office, like the Office of Fair Learning or the Office of Integration, because integration is the opposite of segregation, right? So who can be against that? So we may need to just reconsider our approach, revamp some things, but don't give up. Don't lose hope. We have been fighting for civil rights, as African Americans, literally all of our lives here on this land. And so we're not going to stop now. We stand on the shoulders of giants. And so we know what to do. We know what the fight is going to require. And just as a DEI practitioner and professional and business leader, I'm going to continue to lend myself to continue conversation, expand thought process, and help people reimagine DEI. And so I often tell people when I'm in front of them, don't get hung up on DEI or EID or DEIB or none of this is new. These civil rights struggles have been here, right? And so just the repackaging of it or the renaming of it, the pandemic forced Americans to sit down and look at it. That's all. People are just aware of it and looking at it. These things have been happening. And so, and another thing that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was saying in her dissent, that just because they've taken race out of consideration and the law, that does not mean they've taken it out in real life. So we have to just focus on what we can control in real life and just do the work every day in our micro environments best we can. And that's how we continue to make change.
I love that. So with that, so that's a great, thank you so much for sharing that, just those impactful statements. And there's a segue, I guess, I would like to segue into the question around, how have your organizations basically cultivated a campus where students of all backgrounds can learn together and feel comfortable? I had a conversation with my niece once. She goes to Xavier in New Orleans. And I said to her, I said, what kind of DEI activities do you have on your campus? She said, what do you mean? The whole school is DEI.
Of course.
She said, we don't have to worry about that. She said, I feel comfortable. I said, she says, we have dorm systems. They're like our moms. They take care of us. They cultivate that environment across the campus because it's an HBCU, and I said, that makes a lot of sense. She says, if there's any DEI, it's for the non-minorities that go to Xavier. And I thought that was so interesting that she said that. But if you can share a little bit for the audience, about how you cultivate these different environments, and for some institutions that may not be doing so, what are some things they can do now that, affirmative action has been upended? What are some different ways they can think about ensuring that when they're going through the admissions process, they're considering those students of color. They're not forgetting about it. They're not saying, oh, this is not a factor anymore, right? But they're still considering it and keeping it part of the process. So whoever wants to go first.
Well, one of the things that we do,
go ahead.
things that we do here is, like I say, even before this rooting, we've never just focused on race. And so I just want to encourage everybody, even though that is important, we definitely want to, have a equitable mindset, right? And so it's forever important, but just widen your pool. Don't only recruit or make a touch points with people, places, and things that you're familiar with, that you're used to.
Right,
That's
right,
how
right,
you
right, right.
diversify your student body or your employee base. When you're sending out recruiters, are they going to the same places, the same
Mm,
conferences all the time?
mm,
So you just need to ask yourself some questions. What rock haven't we turned over? What haven't we
Mm.
considered
right,
before?
right,
Um,
right.
do we keep fishing in the same lakes?
Mm,
And
mm.
so
Good.
that's the easy question to begin the conversation with any institution.
That's really good. Okay, and Karen?
I absolutely love your fishing analogy, and I'm certain that my DEI co-chair Jen Hepner, who I heard you welcome earlier, is just
Yes.
smiling from ear to ear because she certainly used that all the
Oh,
time about if you want to find some catfish, you can't go over to the perch side of the pool. You got to fish in other pools in order to get to the perch. If you just got catfish all the time, and you want to know how come I'm not pulling up any perch.
right,
So I'm
right,
from
right.
South Carolina, so that anything about seafood, I'm game. So
I love
absolutely.
it. I love that. And
And and I also love what you said earlier, Jeanette, about your story about Xavier, because I'm actually the product of an HBCU myself. So
yeah,
I got my chemistry degree from Bennett College for Women in Greensboro, North Carolina, the first HBCU for African American women in America. Yes, even before Spelman. So Spelman was
woo,
number two. I always got to get that little dig in there, right?
yes, yes. And
But
you're a Delta. Don't forget that. Look,
and wait a minute, because I just wanted to thank Erica for actually naming my newest soror, who is Supreme Court Justice Ketanji
I
Brown
heard.
Jackson.
Oh, yes, yes. Shout out.
Yes, yes. So that was a good shout out. I was there to witness her initiation into our illustrious sisterhood at our national convention in Indianapolis just a few weeks ago. But back to the seriousness of this, it is really important that we encourage organizations to lean into the discomfort of being inclusive.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's kind of scary if you've not done it before, but I'm telling you, my very first trip out of the state of Wisconsin, when I was doing my tour of all 11 campuses when I first started with Herzing University, and I went down to my first grad fair was in New Orleans at our New Orleans campus. And ladies, you could not tell me I was not back at Bennett College, because why? We have a predominantly women graduation, high female gender. Predominantly, about 72% of our program graduates are nurses,
Mm-hmm.
nursing students. And I looked around to see some of the most beautiful, fine, gorgeous, brilliant, beautiful Black women that were coming in the door in droves, getting their graduation robes on, getting their caps and gowns, and dressed to the nines. They were getting their professional shots done for their graduation photos, and then coming out after that to go to the graduation fair. You couldn't tell me I was at an HBCU. I
Okay.
was so impressed with that. That is what happens when you just let it happen in a germane way. Let it happen from the ground up and build it, and people will come. If you start putting up, what happens, I think, what has happened in our country, because I've been at this work now for almost 3 decades, 25
Mm-hmm.
years plus. I have seen how much energy goes into the resistance. If
Mm,
we could just lean into and give half of that energy
wow.
into actually building change, change will
Wow.
happen. We're living it in our two institutions with the two of us on this call today.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. So I want to make sure that if our audience has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We're at about 10:44 right now, so please we want to allow some time for questions. So please drop your questions in the chat. Feel free to do so. Um, the next question that I have here is, when this all went down, okay, when the ruling, when it was communicated in the media and around the world, like a shout that went around the world. I mean, so many organizations rose up and made statements about it. How did your organizations handle that, and what sort of recommendations would you have for those that didn't do anything?
Be
Um,
bold. Say
yeah, I
something.
hate to hear
Silence
it.
is
Someone didn't do
silence.
anything.
Silence is compliance. So be bold and say something. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Eric.
So how did you guys handle that, Karen?
So yeah, so actually, what I was sharing with you earlier was our statement that
Oh, that
I,
was it. Okay.
so yes.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And then you, Erica?
Yeah, like I was saying, myself and the other leaders, our admissions department, their leadership. People came to me individually, but we made sure we put out a statement
A statement.
to our, yes, absolutely, to
And what was
our
that like? Like,
students.
share a little bit about what it said in that statement, like what you do to really just comfort the diverse students at your institution. Because honestly, the wave, it just shocked everybody. And I think what happens is even just walking into a classroom, you start to feel different. You start to feel uncomfortable, right? When I was the dean of the College of Business, I would have conversations with students all the time about how uncomfortable they felt sometimes because it could be a faculty member or just another experience that they had where they just felt uncomfortable. They felt like maybe they weren't treated the same. They were treated differently because of the color of their skin, you know. So that uncomfortableness just happened, for people, even in the workplace. It just happened for people, right? Because when that happened, there people, most African Americans, at least I was like, oh no, how am I going to be treated now? Am I going to get less consulting gigs, right? How's my world going to change? I mean, some women have actually lost their jobs. Some DEI leaders have lost their jobs after that decision was passed. So that is happening.
Absolutely, it is. I've had people in my personal life very concerned about me. It's like, are you going to lose
Okay.
your job? Are you going to,
Yeah.
and they still send me articles, and such and such CDO has resigned or stepped down, or it's so. People are very concerned about this, and so again, I am very blessed. One of the specific reasons I work for this institution is their mission. I would not be here if this institution did not align with my professional and personal values.
Here,
Um,
here, here, here.
and so, and I do
Absolutely.
realize even saying that is a privilege because I understand people have to work for a living.
Right,
Right.
right, right.
And then in my over 20 years in being social advocacy and strategic diversity leadership, I understand sometimes you just have to work for a living, but I have worked long enough and positioned myself um, that in personal relationships, professional relationships, I only align with people that align with my vision and values. And so what we did as an organization, we just started the conversation immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And just reminded our students and our staff and faculty members and provided previous evidence and ongoing and current evidence
Yes, yes.
that we are standing on our square. We are standing on our standards. Naturally, we're going to review the law, make sure we're not violating anything. But
Right.
the fact is that here at BCOM, our organic approach to this, when we started 10 years ago, our mission was not race based. It
Mm-hmm.
is it's inclusive. It's true equity and inclusion. So you
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
really did not just focus on race. Is race a factor that we consider if a student or employee wants to share their story? Absolutely. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's not where we hang our hat. And
Yeah.
so our diverse population of students and employees, we just reminded them that we're going to stand on our square
Mm-hmm.
within the law naturally, and naturally how we were already operating. Was the bigger picture of inclusiveness. So
Mm-hmm.
we haven't had to make any major changes to how we talk.
No, I think that's great. And I could go on and on about that because I have so many more questions about that and about just the populations that you both serve, because I know being from El Paso, Texas, and living very close to Las Cruces, New Mexico, high population of Hispanic students, right? And I'm not sure if Burrell College also has that high population. It does, yes. So I figured that the population is mostly minority, right? The minority is the majority. That's where I'm from. So Texas, where the minority is the majority. I had to learn Spanish when I was 5 years old. Like I had to learn Spanish at a very young age because of the population that surrounded me. And so you're in it, and I made that clarification, Erica, just because I want people to understand that you are swimming in it, right? Both of you. Karen, yours is a little mixed, right? Because you're in Wisconsin, so you guys do serve a mixture. Your population is more mixed, but mostly diverse, right, as well?
And it is mostly diverse. As I mentioned earlier, we have been a certified an MSI, which means that up to 50% or greater of our population overall are minority students. And that also fluctuates based on the campus. So like in Atlanta, it's like 90% at our Atlanta campus, but not quite to that level at our Madison campus, for example.
So no, those are great. So I just want to make sure people understood kind of the populations that you guys were serving. There is a question in the chat, and here's the question. I will go ahead and scroll this question. Let me show it here. For someone like me who is taking a bold move and shifting my career in the DEIB space, how would you go about moving forward, understanding laws are passed to move against DEI? Great question.
Yes, that's an excellent question. You have to take a personal stand. I just want to echo what Erica has already said. Don't kid yourself thinking you're going to come in and change an organization. And I will only join an organization whose core values already align with mine. Why that is so important, I just wanted to go back to your previous story question, Jeanette, because I just want to put a little real face on this. And it's my daughter. So this hurts me personally because my baby girl grew up in her mom's footsteps and became the first health equity director for the state of Virginia under then Governor Ralph Northam, and received all these accolades, was the first. She got these huge, wonderful awards, 2 dozen roses and all this stuff from him. But then when Governor Youngkin was elected, he made true on his promise to get rid of everything and anything DEI related out of the budget, and there went her job. She called in tears, "Mom, what do I do now?" And so that's the reality of living in the real world that I talk about, that I don't experience here inside of Herzing. But as a mom, number one, it breaks my heart for my adult child to have to experience this at this stage in 2023, 2022 when it happened. She has since reinvented herself. She has a law degree, so she has moved out of the state of Virginia. She can handle it, and into Maryland, and she is a health equity consultant, doing some great work for across this country now as a consultant.
Wow.
But that's why it scares me that, yes, if we have more elected officials like that wants to be so proactive and proactively turning back the clock, if you will, in terms of the progress that we have made state by state, that's where the dismantling becomes the scariest. In Virginia already happened, in Florida happening as we speak, in Texas, and the list goes on.
I mean, and those states it's not surprising, right? It's not surprising that Bible Belt South, right? Because they were the reason why we actually passed affirmative action laws, right? Many of those states in the first place, right?
And I'm from Virginia. Like I told you, I graduated from Virginia State University, my HBCU, and so when I saw that, just as a woman in the field, a Black woman, just being from Virginia, it impacted me as well. And so to answer her question about moving forward under these laws, my brother is the vice chair for the Democratic Party for the state of Maryland,
Mm,
Browning. And so yesterday on social media, he was reaching out, just asking the local constituents there in Maryland. We're encouraging them,
mm,
kind of giving them a blueprint of how to get involved at the
mhm,
local level. The local legislation is where your most immediate impact comes.
Mhm.
And so, yes, the SCOTUS decision impacts us all, but I just thought his point yesterday he was making, how to get involved, how to ensure that your local community needs are being met individually and as a collective, is to get
mhm.
involved in your local processes. And so, if you're interested in shifting your career into this space, just be mindful of what I shared earlier. So it may not look or be the same name, but there are opportunities. So they may have to rename it. You may
Yeah.
have to reinvent yourself. I reinvented. I can't count the amount of times I reinvented myself, personally and professionally.
Mhm.
So you just have to reinvent yourself, scan the current environment, know yourself and your skill set, your passion, your values, what do you stand on, and align yourself with people and organizations where you can thrive.
I
You
love it.
and don't make the mistake I made as an early, as a graduate early in my career as social work. I wanted to go and save the world, and now I
Bingo. Don't
I
waste your
did,
energy.
I did in essence because the people I touch, I impacted and changed the trajectory of their lives individually.
Mhm.
Changing the world, maybe not, but those people go out and take the experiences that I gave them and be better. So believe in yourself, know your skill set,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and just stand on your standards.
Exactly.
Oh, did we lose our host?
Did we lose our host? Oh, wow.
Are you there, Jeanette?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay.
I apologize. Accidentally hit the wrong button.
Oh, that happens. That happens in the real world.
No, I'm so sorry. That was my fault. I was trying to turn off something else. Ladies, this has been wonderful. We are at the top of the hour. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing those nuggets of wisdom. I appreciate your time. I appreciate both of you. Any final thoughts for our audience? Are you guys good? Do you want to share any final thoughts? I just want to say thank you, first of all, to our audience. Thank you for those who joined us today. For those that weren't able to attend, you're welcome to share our recording with your network. Please share our recording. It's going to be live as soon as we're done with this discussion. So you can go to any of our social media pages, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Check them all out. And you're welcome to share it. We'd love for you to share it. Go out to leadersleadup.com as well. Check out our website, learn more about it, become a member. We'd love to have you. We're all about uplifting women of color, and you will continue to see more amazing, empowering women of color on our live stream. So please be sure to join us next time. Karen and Erica, any final words?
Be inclusive. Stay woke.
Yes. Erica?
I just want to just reiterate, yes, the SCOTUS decision, does change the law of the land, but remember, your local platforms is where you can make the most impact.
Mm,
Absolutely. All politics is local. I learned that when I was in the mayor's office. You can make a huge difference locally. Absolutely. Do
I
not run
love
away
it.
from that.
Love you, ladies. Goodbye, everyone.